Your cruise cabin is tiny. The outlets never seem to be where you need them. There's barely enough bathroom storage. Your wet swimsuit won't dry. Your phone may show the wrong time. And somehow, on the last morning, there's always something you forgot. But there are simple tricks experienced cruisers use to make all of this easier. One of these can help prevent you from missing an expensive excursion. Another creates useful storage without taking up valuable floor space. And the final hack is so simple that you may actually start using it on every trip, not just cruises. And I've saved some of the most useful ones for later, so don't skip ahead. One thing I've learned is that the best cruise cabin hacks aren't necessarily expensive gadgets. They're little things that make a small space work much better. And because cruise ships, technology, and policies keep changing, we're focusing on practical ideas for cruising in 2026. If you're cruising soon, hit subscribe because we cover the tips that can save you money, prevent mistakes, and make your cruise easier. Let's get started with the first cabin hack. Section 1. Make your tiny cabin feel bigger. 1. Create a cabin landing zone. The moment you walk into your cruise cabin, do one simple thing before you start unpacking. Create a landing zone. Pick one spot near the entrance for the things you reach for constantly: your key card or cruise medallion, sunglasses, wallet, hat, cabin phone, and any excursion paperwork. Why does this matter? Because cruise cabins can become cluttered incredibly fast. You come back from breakfast, drop your sunglasses on the desk, toss your key card on the bed, put your hat on a chair, and suddenly everything has a place except the things you actually need. A landing zone gives everything a home. And once you get into the habit, you won't waste time searching for your key card every time you're ready to leave the cabin. 2. Turn the metal walls into storage. Here's one of the easiest ways to create extra storage without taking up valuable floor or counter space. Use your cabin walls. Many cruise cabins have metal surfaces that can work with magnetic hooks or clips, although the exact surfaces and rules vary by ship. Use a few appropriate magnetic organizers to create different zones. Near the door, you could keep your key card, hat, or light jacket. Near the desk, you could organize excursion paperwork and daily schedules. And near a balcony or window, you can create a convenient spot for items that need to dry, such as swimwear. You're essentially turning and used vertical space into storage. But always make sure anything you attach is allowed and doesn't interfere with doors, vents, sprinklers, or other safety equipment. 3. Create a daily drawer. Here's a simple organization trick that can make a surprisingly big difference. Give yourself a daily drawer. Instead of scattering small items throughout the cabin, choose one drawer for the things you use over and over again. That could include chargers, glasses, pens, small electronics, keycard accessories, and other personal essentials. Now, instead of asking, "Where did I put that?" you already know exactly where to look. And this becomes especially useful when you're sharing a small cabin with another person. You're not constantly moving each other's belongings around just to find something. But don't make the mistake of putting everything into drawers. There are a few things you actually want to keep visible and within easy reach, and we'll get to one of those shortly. 4. Use packing cubes as portable drawers. Here's a packing trick that can save you time both at the beginning and the end of your cruise. Treat your packing cubes like portable drawers. Instead of taking every single item out of your suitcase and scattering clothes throughout the cabin, organize your packing cubes by category. One can hold underwear and socks, another shirts, another evening clothes, and another swimwear. Then, depending on your cabin layout, you can place those cubes directly into a drawer, closet, or underbed storage area. The real advantage comes at the end of the cruise. Instead of hunting through drawers and trying to remember where everything came from, you simply put the packing cubes straight back into your suitcase. It's less unpacking, less repacking, and much less cabin clutter. 5. Use the space under the bed strategically. And here's one of the most valuable storage areas in many cruise cabins: the space underneath your bed. Most cruisers know they can put their suitcase underneath, but don't stop there. Once your luggage is stored, you can use that hidden space for shoes, empty bags, extra hangers, packing cubes, or anything else you don't need to access throughout the day. The biggest benefit isn't just storage, it's getting those items completely out of your living space. In a small cabin, every bit of open floor space matters. Instead of having shoes lined up around the room or bags sitting beside the bed, move the things you rarely use underneath it. Just make sure you follow your cruise line's instructions and don't store anything that could create a safety issue. Section 2. Cabin attendant hacks most people don't think about. 6. Introduce yourself to your cabin attendant early. Here's something I recommend doing almost as soon as you get to your cabin. Introduce yourself to your cabin attendant. This isn't just about being polite. It's also your opportunity to find out what's actually available to you during the cruise. Need extra hangers? Ask. Have a bedding preference? Let them know. Wondering whether robes, slippers, additional towels, or other cabin items are available? Ask. Your cabin attendant can also explain services that you may not immediately notice. Of course, what's available can vary depending on the cruise line, ship, and cabin category, so don't assume every ship offers the same things. The important point is simple. Ask before you buy or pack something you may already be able to get on board. 7. Check your bed configuration immediately. Before you unpack a single suitcase, take a look at your bed. Is it configured the way you requested? If you booked a cabin for 2 and wanted the beds together, make sure they're actually set up that way. If you're traveling with 3 or 4 people, check the sofa bed or additional berth as well. Also take a quick look at the pillows and bedding. If something isn't right, tell your cabin attendant early. Because the worst time to discover your cabin isn't configured the way you wanted is at 11:30 at night, when you're exhausted and everyone is ready for bed. A quick check when you arrive can save you a much bigger inconvenience later. 8. Ask for the things you don't see. Here's a simple cruise rule that can save you both space and money. Don't assume that if you don't see something, it isn't available. Before you start shopping for another travel accessory, ask your cabin attendant. Depending on the ship and cabin category, you may be able to request things like extra hangers, additional towels, different bedding, or other basic cabin items. Of course, availability varies, so this isn't a guarantee. But it only takes a few seconds to ask. And that's the real hack. Instead of packing something bulky or buying something you may only use once, find out whether the ship already has it. Sometimes the smartest thing you can bring on a cruise is actually nothing at all. 9. Ask about laundry and pressing options on day 1. If you've packed formal wear, dress shirts, or anything that needs pressing, don't wait until the night you plan to wear it. Ask about your ship's laundry and pressing options early in the cruise. Find out what's available, how long the turnaround takes, and whether there are any laundry packages or specials that could make sense for you. This is particularly useful if you're on a longer cruise or have several formal or special evenings planned. And here's the important part. Don't assume every cruise line or ship offers the same service or pricing. Check what's available on your specific sailing. The goal is to avoid discovering at the last minute that the outfit you wanted for tonight needs attention and there's no convenient way to get it done. Section 3. Bathroom hacks that make a big difference. 10. Go vertical with your toiletries. One of the biggest problems with a cruise cabin bathroom is that there's simply not much counter space. And when 2 people are getting ready at the same time, that tiny counter can become a disaster very quickly. That's why one of my favorite solutions is to think vertically. A compact hanging toiletry organizer can keep your toothbrush, skincare, hair products, shaving supplies, and other small items organized without taking over the entire counter. Instead of having everything spread around the sink, you have one place where you can find what you need. And when you're finished getting ready, you can simply put everything back. It's a small change, but in a tiny cruise bathroom, reclaiming even a little counter space can make the room feel much less cramped. 11. Create a dedicated wet clothing zone. Here's something that sounds simple, but can make a big difference on a cruise. Give wet clothing its own place. After swimming, don't throw your wet swimsuit over a chair and hope it dries before dinner. Instead, use an appropriate drying area or a suitable hook where permitted, and create one designated spot for swimwear, hand-washed items, or workout clothes. This keeps wet clothing from ending up on your bed, furniture, or floor. And there's an important safety rule here. Never hang or attach anything where it could block a door, ventilation, sprinkler, or other safety equipment. The goal isn't to turn your cabin into a laundry room. It's simply to keep wet items contained, organized, and out of the way while they dry. 12. Keep the bathroom floor completely clear at night. This may not be the most exciting cruise hack, but it could be one of the most important. Keep the path between your bed and the bathroom completely clear at night. Don't leave shoes, bags, clothing, chargers, or anything else sitting on the floor. Why? Because when you wake up at 2 in the morning, you're not thinking about where you left your shoes. You're half asleep, the cabin is dark, and you're simply trying to get to the bathroom. A small nightlight can also help you see the floor and the bathroom entrance without turning on a bright overhead light. A clear path takes almost no effort to maintain, and it can prevent a very avoidable trip or fall. 13. Bring a small bathroom rescue kit. You don't need to pack your entire bathroom from home. Instead, create a small travel-sized bathroom rescue kit with the personal items you know you'll actually want during the cruise. That could include your preferred toiletries, a little hand moisturizer, disinfecting wipes, a toothbrush cover, and a few other personal essentials. Keep everything together in one compact pouch. That way, when you need something, you're not digging through your suitcase or spreading half your belongings across the bathroom counter. And there's another advantage. When it's time to pack for home, you simply grab the pouch and put it back in your luggage. The key is to keep it small. The purpose isn't to bring more stuff. It's to make the stuff you bring easier to manage. 14. Use the cabin bathroom's hidden storage. Before you buy another organizer for your cruise bathroom, do something incredibly simple. Open everything. Check the cabinets. Open every drawer. Look behind doors and under shelves. Some cruise bathrooms have storage areas that aren't immediately obvious when you first walk in. And when you're dealing with a tiny bathroom, that hidden space can make a surprisingly big difference. Use the existing storage before adding more products. You may discover that your toiletries fit perfectly once you actually use every available compartment. This is one of my favorite cruise cabin rules. Don't buy a solution until you've identified the problem. Spend a few minutes exploring your cabin first. You might already have more storage than you thought. Section 4. Comfort hacks you'll appreciate at 2 a.m. 15. Create a safe nighttime path. Here's a cruise cabin habit that takes almost no effort but can make your nights much safer. Before you go to bed, make sure there's a completely clear path from your bed to the bathroom. No shoes, no bags, no clothing, no charging cables. You want to be able to get up in the middle of the night without stepping over anything or trying to remember where you left something. A small, dim nightlight can also be helpful, especially in an inside cabin where there's very little natural light. Just position it carefully so it doesn't create glare or interfere with any doors, vents, or safety equipment. The goal is simple: bed to bathroom, bathroom to bed, without obstacles. 16. Don't let your phone be your only alarm. Here's a mistake I don't recommend making on a cruise: relying entirely on your phone to wake you up for something important. Your phone can automatically change time zones. It can run out of battery. Settings can change, or notifications can interfere with your sleep. And if you have an early shore excursion, airport transfer, or anything else you absolutely cannot miss, that's a risk you don't need to take. Consider having a simple backup alarm or travel clock for important mornings. And this becomes even more important when you're traveling across different time zones. Because as we're about to get into, your phone's time and the ship's official time aren't always something you should assume are identical. 17. Deal with cabin noise before bed. A cruise cabin can be completely peaceful in the afternoon and surprisingly noisy at 6 in the morning. You might hear hallway doors closing, people walking to early excursions, announcements, elevators, or simply movement from neighboring cabins. So if you're a light sleeper, prepare for that before bedtime. Depending on what works for you, that could mean earplugs, sleep earbuds, headphones, or quiet background sounds. The important thing is to test whatever you plan to use before your cruise. And don't completely isolate yourself from the ship. You still need to be able to notice important announcements and emergency alarms. The goal isn't to block out everything. It's to reduce the ordinary background noise that can turn a good night's sleep into a frustrating one. 18. Find your cabin's hot and cold spots. Don't wait until midnight to discover that one side of your cabin feels like a refrigerator while the other feels warm. During your first few hours on board, pay attention to the temperature. Find the climate controls, check the airflow, and see how comfortable the cabin actually feels. If something doesn't seem right, report it early rather than waiting until bedtime. This is especially useful because you're likely to be busy once the cruise gets underway. You'll have dinner, activities, shows, ports, and excursions competing for your attention. So take a few minutes on that first afternoon to figure out the temperature situation. Your future self, especially at bedtime, may thank you. 19. Put loose hangers somewhere they can't rattle. Here's one of those tiny cruise cabin problems you probably won't think about until it happens. Loose hangers can move around inside the closet as the ship moves, And if several of them are knocking against each other, that little noise can become surprisingly annoying at night. Once you've unpacked your clothes, gather any hangers you're not using and place them somewhere secure where they won't swing or bang together. It takes seconds, costs nothing, and gets one more unnecessary source of noise out of your cabin. And that's really the theme of these comfort hacks. On a cruise, small inconveniences can become surprisingly noticeable when you're living in a compact space for several days. Section 5. Money, Technology, and 2026 Cabin Hacks. 20. Check your outlets before buying another gadget. Before you buy another charging gadget for your next cruise, do something surprisingly simple. Check what your cabin already has. When you get on board, look around for the available outlets, USB ports, and where they're actually located. Some cabins may also have a European-style outlet. Then think about what you really need to charge: your phone, watch, tablet, camera, or other devices. This matters because cruise lines can have different rules about electrical accessories. A power strip or charging device that's permitted on one cruise line may not be permitted on another, and rules can change. So don't rely on an old packing list you found online. Before your cruise, check your specific cruise line's current prohibited items policy, especially for power strips, surge protectors, power banks, and other electrical equipment. 21. Create a charging station in one place. Once you've figured out where you're allowed to charge your devices, create one designated charging station. This is especially useful if you're sharing a cabin. Instead of one phone charging beside the bed, another device charging at the desk, and somebody searching for a missing cable, everyone knows exactly where the charging area is. Keep your essential cables together and make that your family's or couple's charging zone. It also makes the cabin look much less cluttered. And there's another advantage. When it's time to leave for an excursion, you know exactly where to check for your phone, watch, tablet, and chargers. One charging station means less searching, fewer forgotten cables, and much less electronic clutter around your cabin. 22. Check your onboard account every day. Here's a simple habit that can potentially save you money. Check your onboard account every day. If your cruise line has an app or another way to view your account, take a quick look at the charges. Check for things like drinks, dining, excursions, purchases, or anything else you've charged to your cabin. You're looking for mistakes such as duplicate charges or something you don't recognize. And don't wait until the final morning to discover a problem. It's much easier to ask about a questionable charge while you're still on board, when the transaction is fresh and the appropriate staff are available to investigate it. It takes less than a minute a day, but that 1-minute habit could save you from an unpleasant surprise when the final bill arrives. Section 6. The hacks that can save you from a very bad day. 23. Use a dedicated ship time clock. This next hack could save you from losing money or having a very stressful day in port. Never assume the time displayed on your phone is automatically the same as the ship's official time. Your phone may automatically update when you travel into a different time zone, while the ship may continue operating on its designated ship time. That can create a serious problem if you're relying on your phone for an early excursion, wake-up alarm, dining reservation, or all-aboard time. My advice is to have a simple clock or watch that you can manually set to the ship's official time and leave it that way. Always follow the ship's announcements and instructions about time, because when you're cruising, your phone's time isn't necessarily the time you should be following. 24. Photograph the important information you don't want to lose. Here's a simple trick that can make navigating a large cruise ship much easier. Use your phone's camera as a memory aid. When you board, take a quick photo of your cabin number. You can also photograph important information from your daily schedule, excursion details, reservations, or other paperwork you know you'll need later. That way, instead of digging through papers or trying to remember where you saw something, you have the information right on your phone. And if you're someone who occasionally walks out of the cabin and immediately forgets the room number, take a photo of the cabin door or the hallway area. It sounds silly until you're standing on the wrong deck wondering which way to go. A few seconds of photography on day one can save you plenty of frustration later. 25. Put tomorrow's shoes inside the safe. And here's my favorite cabin hack in the entire video. On the last night of your cruise, you're packing everything, you're tired, and you're thinking about getting off the ship the next morning. Meanwhile, your safe may still contain your passport, wallet, jewelry, documents, or other valuables. And that's exactly when it's easy to forget something. So here's the trick. Put the shoes, or even the shirt or outfit you plan to wear for disembarkation inside the safe. The next morning, when you open the safe to retrieve your valuables, you'll immediately see the item you need to wear. You simply can't walk off the ship without noticing it. It's one of those ridiculously simple tricks that sounds almost too obvious until the morning you actually need it. Rapid-fire bonus round. And before we wrap up, here are a few quick bonus cabin tips that can make your cruise just a little easier. 1. Photograph your cabin number when you arrive. If you're exploring a huge ship, you'll always have a quick reminder of where you're staying. 2. Keep your key card or cruise medallion in the same place every day. The less time you spend searching for it, the better. 3. Don't buy a bunch of cabin organizers before your cruise. See your actual cabin first. You may discover you already have more storage than you expected. 4. Keep your first night essentials easy to reach. Don't bury your medications, toiletries, change of clothes, or anything else you'll need after boarding at the bottom of your suitcase. 5. Keep medications and essential personal items somewhere secure but easily accessible when you need them. And finally, bonus tip number 6. Never let your organization become a safety problem. Don't block vents, doors, sprinklers, or other safety equipment with hooks, bags, clothing, or anything else. So, if you don't remember all 25 cabin hacks, remember these 5. First, create a landing zone as soon as you enter your cabin. Give your key card, sunglasses, wallet, and other everyday essentials one consistent place. Second, use your cabin's vertical space wisely. Magnetic hooks and clips can turn otherwise unused wall space into useful storage, as long as they're permitted and don't interfere with safety equipment. Third, check your cabin and speak with your cabin attendant early. Make sure the bed is configured correctly, look for available storage, and ask about services or items you may need. Fourth, never blindly rely on your phone for ship time. For important excursions and all-aboard times, always follow the ship's official time and instructions. And finally, put your disembarkation shoes or outfit inside the safe on the last night. When you open the safe for your valuables, you'll see exactly what you need for the morning. You don't need to buy 25 gadgets to make your cruise cabin better. Most of these hacks are about using the space and resources you already have more intelligently. Now I want to hear from the experienced cruisers. What's the one cruise cabin hack you swear by that I didn't mention in this video? Maybe it's something you've discovered after years of cruising, or maybe it's a simple trick that completely changed the way you use your cabin. Drop it in the comments below. I'm collecting the best ideas for a future cruise intel video, and your tip could help another cruiser avoid a mistake or make their next cruise even better. And if you're cruising soon, make sure you subscribe to Cruise Intel. We cover cruise tips, mistakes to avoid, money-saving tricks, cabin secrets, and the things cruise lines don't always make obvious. Until next time, happy cruising, and I'll see you on the next one.